I'm Lisa Childs, and welcome back to Tried, Tested, and True Instant Pot Cooking. Today I'm going to be sharing with you one of the most intimidating sounding recipes, but it's actually the easiest Instant Pot recipe ever. Today we are going to be making homemade yogurt in the Instant Pot. If you're new here, I'm Lisa Childs, hi, and I share a new Instant Pot recipe or video every single week here on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe and then tell me where you're from in the comments. This homemade yogurt recipe is a no boil, no strain recipe. That means that you don't have to buy any fancy gadgets or tools and you don't have to strain it in the fridge forever. It's so easy. Just a side note, if you have an Instant Pot Luxe, I'm sorry, but you're out of luck. The Instant Pot Luxe does not have the yogurt feature, and so that's one of the reasons why I always recommend everyone start out with an Instant Pot Duo or above. Okay, here are the ingredients to make homemade yogurt in the Instant Pot. To make this no boil, no strain version, you need ultra pasteurized milk. This brand, which is Fairlife, is the brand that a lot of people use. I really like it. It actually has less sugar and less carbs than regular milk, and so that's really nice. Also, this is ultra filtered milk, but ultra filtered milk and ultra pasteurized milk is not the same. You need to make sure that your ultra filtered milk is ultra pasteurized, but your ultra pasteurized milk doesn't necessarily have to be ultra filtered. So this is the Fairlife milk that I like to use, and you can use the lower fat version, you can use the kind that has DHA in it. I also this is my favorite. The brand from Costco, it's ultra pasteurized milk. It comes in a 3-pack. It's organic and it's 2%. I actually really like the texture of that milk better, and it's way cheaper and it's organic. Okay, so that's the first ingredient you need is milk. The second ingredient you need to make homemade yogurt in your Instant Pot is a starter. So just like when you make sourdough bread, you need that fermented starter. When you make yogurt, you need those live probiotics to start, so when it incubates, it can multiply and it makes yogurt. A yogurt starter, in this case, is just store-bought yogurt. So if you want plain yogurt, just plain unsweetened yogurt, you just need these 2 ingredients. But if you want something that's a little bit creamier and sweeter, use a sweetener like sweetened condensed milk. This stuff is like liquid gold. This is so good in just about anything, so you know it's gonna be good, right? You can also use some store-bought coffee creamer as your sweetener. I've also used the Lakanto, the monk fruit sweetener, because I was watching my carbs, and that actually worked really well too. So you can kind of experiment, but the standard that I always use is just a can of sweetened condensed milk. If you don't want it as sweet, just don't use the whole can. Just put in like half or something. Taste your milk, see how it is, and if you want to add more, add more. And if you don't want to use the whole thing, just don't use the whole thing. The first thing I always do when I make yogurt in my Instant Pot is give my Instant Pot a deep clean. If you haven't watched my video on how to clean your Instant Pot, you can go watch that one next, but I always make sure that it's clean just because I don't want any of those smells transferring into my yogurt. On the same note, I like using a glass lid to make yogurt instead of using the Instant Pot lid. The reason why I use a glass lid is because the Instant Pot lid harbors some hidden smells. With something as delicate as yogurt that's going to be incubating for so long, it can transfer those smells super easily. So I just find a pot lid that fits one of my pots or pans in my cupboard and use that. If you decide to use the Instant Pot lid, just make sure when you open it up, give it a little sniff, and if it smells weird, don't use it. If you don't have a lid that fits on top of your Instant Pot liner, just use a glass plate or something else to cover the top and you'll be just fine. Let's get started making our homemade yogurt in the Instant Pot. The first thing we're going to do is incorporate the starter into the milk. I like doing this by just adding a little bit of the milk, let's say like half a cup, and then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of the yogurt starter. I'm using the Fage 2% plain yogurt. You can use any yogurt that has probiotics, but I like using just the plain ones, the plain flavored ones, because I think it's the safest way to go. After you put in 2 tablespoons of starter, you can put the rest of this in those little cups and freeze them for the next batch you make, but it's kind of weird. every single starter and every single milk will kind of develop a different flavor yogurt. So I actually like my yogurt made best with this batch as the starter and not this as the starter. So if you make it a lot, you'll kind of see that it tastes a little bit different every time you make it. So I have 2 tablespoons of the yogurt starter. We're gonna stick it in the Instant Pot like this. And here's the key. The starter has to be mixed into the milk completely. If it's chunky or if it has little tiny grains in it, your yogurt might turn out grainy or gritty, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to start whisking it in. A lot of people ask me why they would make their own yogurt versus just buying it at the store because it's so easy. But my kids devour this yogurt. It is their favorite thing in the whole world. And when they eat so much of it, it's nice to know exactly what goes into your food, and it's so much cheaper to make homemade. And it should be really foamy, like there should be lots of bubbles. You might think it's weird that we're using yogurt to make yogurt, but stay with me. Every single time after you make your first batch of yogurt, you can use this batch as the starter for your next batch. And I like doing this with a small amount of milk first, so then I can ensure that the starter really gets into the milk. After you have the starter mixed in with the milk, about like half a cup or so, that's when we're gonna add our sweetened condensed milk. We like the whole thing, so I'm just going to add the whole thing in. So good. And then we're gonna whisk this in completely. Sweetened condensed milk is kind of this syrupy consistency, so you just want to whisk it in to dissolve the sugars, make sure that it is all incorporated because we don't want our yogurt coming out gritty or slimy. Once the sweetened condensed milk and the starter is mixed in with that little bit of milk, we're going to add in the rest of the milk. This is 52 ounces, but the Costco kind that I talked about earlier, that one is a half gallon. So when I make the half gallon one, I just pour in the whole thing. Same thing, 2 tablespoons of starter, 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. It just makes a little bit more yogurt. So we're gonna mix this all the way in again. If you've done it right, you'll have lots of these bubbles, it'll be foamy because you want it really mixed in. The first time I made it, I just kind of haphazardly put stuff in and I mixed it in a little bit and it was kind of grainy and I didn't like it. So make sure you whisk everything in, and now it's time to incubate. If you want to make your yogurt in individualized portions, you can just pour this milk mixture, like mix it up in a different bowl, and then put it in a glass ramekin or a mason jar. After that, just put 2 cups of water in your Instant Pot and then put these on the trivet on top of the water. Then you just incubate like normal, and then you have individualized portions of yogurt. Next, we're just going to put the lid on top of the yogurt. And if you use the Instant Pot lid, it doesn't matter if the knob is on sealing or venting because either way, it's being vented. Nothing's coming to pressure, so it doesn't matter which one you put. So now we are going to set the Instant Pot to yogurt. Press the yogurt button. Make sure that it is on the normal setting. You can see the normal setting right here in the middle. You can adjust that setting by pressing the yogurt button a couple times. It'll go from less to more, but make sure it is on normal. If you make the yogurt with just regular milk that you have to strain, that's one that has to come up to a boil first, and that's when you would use the high setting. After we press the yogurt button and it is on the normal setting, that's when we're gonna set our time. So set the time anywhere from 7 to 10 hours. If you want it more tart, you can do it even longer, but my favorite is just around 8 or 8.5 hours. Once it registers the time, the display will say 0000 because it is going to start counting up, not counting down like when you're pressure cooking. So this is going to count up to 8.5 hours, and you just let it sit and you're ready to go. So I'm actually gonna go to bed right now. I do this overnight all the time and it works just fine. And in the morning, I will put it in the fridge and then we can eat it after it's cooled down. If you're worried about leaving your Instant Pot unattended, like at home during the day when you're making yogurt or at night while you're sleeping, don't worry because it is at such a low temperature. Nothing is going to boil, nothing is going to come to pressure, so it's really safe, it's really okay. So good night and we'll see you tomorrow. Hey everyone, welcome back. We are in my upstairs kitchen this morning because the yogurt has incubated all night long and now it's time to take it out and put it in the fridge. So after it has incubated, it will say, it will go up, you know, we did the 8.5 hours, and then after it's done with the 8.5 hours, it will just say yogurt, Y-O-G-T, and then that's when you know you can just take it out and you will have yogurt. It's pretty cool. So it's kind of warm, it's not hot, but you can definitely handle it. It just looks like this. Once it's done incubating, it's firm, it smells so good. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. So this is it. From here, we are going to refrigerate it. Typically, I do mine overnight, but it just has to be cool because no one wants to eat warm yogurt. So we're gonna stick this in the fridge, and then after, we'll come back and we'll do the spoon test. This has been in the fridge overnight. And here's the test. It worked. So you can see our yogurt is nice, thick, like that. And if you want it to be even thicker, you can strain it. Or if you want it thinner, all you need to do is just break up those proteins and just mix it up a little bit, and that will result in a softer texture. See how you can already tell it's a little bit softer. Just mix it up and then it will be just fine. You can store this in the pot in the fridge for up to about 10 days. I've actually never had it last probably that long, but you can have it at least a week, if not longer. I usually transfer mine into like a Tupperware bowl because then I can use my liner for something else. But you can store it in this, just cover it with some Saran wrap and it will be good to go all week. Really quick, don't forget to take 2 tablespoons of your yogurt, save it in a little Tupperware dish, or even like a sandwich bag works too, but take 2 tablespoons of your starter. I like using these little cups with lids, and stick this in your freezer for next time. Now you don't have to buy any more conventional store-bought yogurt. You can just use this as your starter. So just add in your starter with the milk and do it just like we did before. The only thing is if it is frozen, make sure you take it out of the freezer overnight in the refrigerator to thaw. Or what I usually do is just stick this whole thing frozen. I'll just dump the frozen plop of yogurt into the Instant Pot liner, add about half a cup of milk and just let it thaw for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I'll break it up and it's perfectly thawed that way. I've got a little bowl here of Instant Pot yogurt. We're gonna try it. It just tastes fresh. It's perfectly sweet for me with just the 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. And the texture is just really bright, clean, smooth, and you are going to love it. See, I told you it wasn't that hard. It's not that intimidating. I hope now that you've watched this video, you will love making Instant Pot yogurt. Top it with whatever you want. If you don't want it sweetened, just make the plain yogurt. Drizzle a little honey or agave on top, add some berries, some granola, and you've got a really healthy, delicious breakfast. So if you like this video, make sure you give it a like and thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and we will see you next time. Make sure you watch my next video, 26 Instant Pot tips. See ya.